Assessment of Rajasthan surface water quality during Covid19 pandemic lockdown. Abstract. This research paper aimed at investigating the effect of the Covid19 pandemic lockdown on the surface water, rivers, canals, dams and lakes quality of Rajasthan state of India. The data was collected from 60 independent monitoring stations controlled by the State Pollution Control Board, and was analyzed and compared with the result of April of 2019 using the Indian Standard for Water Quality Recommendations, IS, 2296:1992. The result shows that lockdown has contributed immensely to the improvement of the surface water quality. This was due to the reduction of industrials, transportation and other anthropogenic activities that mostly contributed to the release of toxic effluents and gases which lead to the surface water contamination. Therefore, a periodic-based assessment should be employed so that the quality level of surface water can be monitored and controlled, as well as enforcing laws to both industries and general public regarding refuse dumping. Keywords: lockdown, quality, improvement, surface water level. 1.0 Introduction. Water is an indispensable part of human lives as it variously involves in our daily activities from drinking, cooking, and other house chores to agricultural and recreational purposes. Surface water constitute of the streams and rivers that collect water during rainfall and empty it into oceans, seas, and lakes. These surface water have been the only sources of water, especially during the dry season in many parts of the world. However, they in many times contain various organic and chemical constituents which render them unfit to serve their purposes. Simeonov et al., 2003, Neal et al., 2017, as they are known to transport wastewaters from the municipal and industrial layouts, and agricultural runoffs containing pesticides and other chemicals. Therefore, the needs to scientifically access their quality and provide user-friendly results to environmental management agencies and general public, cannot be overemphasized as it immeasurably affect human health and rate of agricultural production. This involves assessment of physico-chemical, micropollutants, and biological contents of the surface water which are affected by rock constituents of the river basin, atmospheric input, climatic settings and human activities. The results of the assessment are then compared with the standard values for drinking and irrigation, given by regulating bodies like the World Health Organization, WHO, United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, UNICEF, and United States Salinity Laboratory among others. Physiochemical and biological parameters to assess the of-groundwater quality of the indoor city and its industrial area using Water Quality Index, which revealed that the periodic assessment on the water quality of area should be conducted and compared with the relevant standard for drinking water such as Indian Standard, WHO Standard, in order to have a reliable and controllable source of water supply. The work on water quality indices found that there is no any water quality index that is universally accepted for the surface water assessment. However, there are ongoing discoveries about other parameters by policymakers that can be used to increase the level of dependency on the indices. They further stated that most of indices across the world utilizes the physiochemical and biological parameters for the quality assessment. 2.0 Problem Statement. The lockdown imposed by the government to tackle the spread of the novel Covid-19 has led to limited industrial activities. This has considerably affected the rate of water pollution by industrial effluents, hence the quality of surface water. Therefore, this research paper aims at comparatively studying the quality of the surface water before and during the lockdown in Rajasthan state. 3.0 Study Area. Rajasthan occupies the northwestern part of India and is the largest state, about 10.74% of the Indian territory, with a total area of 342,239 square km bounded between latitude 23033012 n and longitude 69297817 e. It's bordered in the north and northeast by Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, in the west and northwest by Pakistan, and in the south, southeast and southwest by Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat states respectively, ZO. 2011. The state is economically thriving on agriculture and mineral resources, remarkably marble and cement. For details see, Chauhan et al., 2020. Rajasthan District Map, List of districts in Rajasthan. Figure 1, Map of Rajasthan State, adopted from Chauhan et al., 2020. 4.0 Methodology. The methodology employed in this research involves a comprehensive comparative analysis made from the data collected from the 60 Rajasthan network monitoring stations controlled by the Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, of the state. The data of water samples were collected and analyzed during the last week of April, 2020. The samples were collected from 14 rivers, 4 canals, 16 lakes, and 11 dams, sum up to a total of 45 sources across the state. The analyzed data was compared with the result obtained last year in the same month of April to know the impact of lockdown on surface water quality in the state. The parameters used for this research includes biochemical oxygen demand, BOD, chemical oxygen demand, COD, dissolved oxygen, DO, total coliform and conductivity, and the result was compared with the CPCB water quality criteria for designated best use. In order to simplify the work, the analysis was categorized into two-part viz., flowing surface water, rivers and canals, and stored surface water, dams and lakes. For this research work, the codes assigned to each respective water source will be used during the discussion as nomenclature to represent them, while the actual names of the sources can be obtained from the Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, database. The recommendations made by the Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, based on Bureau of Indian Standard, is 2296:1992, on the quality of surface water were tabulated below. Table 1 CPCB water quality criteria for designated best use. Designated class of water. Criteria: drinking water source without conventional treatment but after disinfection. A. Total coliforms organism MPN/100 ml shall be 50 or less, pH between 6.5 and 8.5. Dissolved oxygen 6 mg/L or more. Biochemical oxygen demand 5 days 20 C2 mg/L or less. Outdoor bathing. Organized. B. Total coliforms organism MPN/100 ml shall be 500 or less, pH between 6.5 and 8.5. Dissolved oxygen 5 mg/L or more. Biochemical oxygen demand 5 days 20 C3 mg/L or less. Drinking water source after conventional treatment and disinfection. C. Total coliforms organism MPN/100 ml shall be 5000 or less, pH between 6 to 9. Dissolved oxygen 4 mg/L or more. Biochemical oxygen demand 5 days 20 C3 mg/L or less. Propagation of wildlife and fisheries. D. pH between 6.5 to 8.5. Dissolved oxygen 4 mg/L or more. Free ammonia, as N, 1.2 mg/L or less. Irrigation, industrial cooling, controlled waste disposal. E. pH between 6.0 to 8.5. Electrical conductivity at 25 C micromos/cm max .2250. Sodium absorption ratio max 26. Boron max 2 mg/L. Retrieved from Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB, and Bureau of Indian Standard, is 2296:1992, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. 5.0 Results and Discussion. 5.1 The result of the flowing surface water, rivers and canals. 5.1.1 Biochemical oxygen demand, BOD. Results of the assessed BOD in the surface waters, rivers and canals, of Rajasthan state before and during the lockdown due to the Covid-19 is processed and presented above, Figure 2. It indicated that the BOD ranges between 1.24 mg/L to 5.56 mg/L before the lockdown, whereas it ranges between 1.08 mg/L to 4.32 mg/L during the lockdown. Generally, there is a considerable decrease in the BOD content except at 1289, 1413, 2932, 2955, 2956, 4769, 4804 and 10,029 stations, all of which are rivers around Chambal area except 2932 which happen to be Narmada main canal. However, the BOD content at 10,030 are exceptionally high both before and during the Covid-19 lockdown. Still during the lockdown using the IS 2296:1992, recommendations stations 1232, 1288, 2932, 2933, 2934, 2953, 2955, 4174 and 4733, belong to Class A, while stations 1413, 2954, 2956, 4175, 4769 and 4804, can be categorized in Class B and C, but station 1289, 10,029 and 10,030 belong to Class D. Results of the cod contents of the rivers and canals in Rajasthan state before and during the lockdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic were compared and presented above. Figure 2. It indicated a general decrease in the cod content except at 1,289, 1,413 and 2,956 stations. Similar to the BOD, the highest cod content both before and during the lockdown was recorded at station 10,030, whereas the lowest cod contents were recorded at stations 4,769 and 1,232, before and after the lockdown respectively. No recommendation giving by IS 2296:1992 regarding the content of cod. The dew contents of the rivers and canals in Rajasthan before and during the COVID-19 lockdown is shown above, Figure 3. Highest dew values were recorded at 10,029 and 4,175 stations before and during the lockdown respectively, whereas lowest dew values were recorded at 4,174 and 10,030 before the lockdown and at 10,030 during the lockdown. The highest percentage increase was recorded at station 4,174, 82%, while the highest percentage decrease was recorded at station 10,029. In general, decrease in dew was recorded in 9 station while increase in the other 9. Considering the IS 2296:1992 recommendations during lockdown, station 1288, 2932, and 4175 belong to Class A, while station 2933, 2934, 2955, 4174, 4773, belong to Class B, and stations 1232, 1413, 2953, 2954, 4769, 4804. However, the remaining stations of 1289, 2956, 10,029, 10,030 are of Class D. The total coliform present in the water bodies of Rajasthan state before and during the lockdown are compared above, Figure 4. It ranges between 7 to 210 mg/L before the lockdown and 20 to 210 mg/L during the lockdown. Before the lockdown, the highest total coliform content was recorded at station 10,030, 210 mg/L, while the lowest was at station 1,288, 7 mg/L. During the lockdown, the highest total coliform content was recorded at the stations 1,289, 10,029 and 10,030, 210 mg/L, while the lowest was recorded at station 1,288, 20 mg/L. It should be noted that the two lowest values before and during the lockdown were recorded at the same station, 1,288, and that the total coliform content at station 10,030 was the same before and during the lockdown. The value coliform based on the IS recommendations during the lockdown of stations 1288, 2932, 2933, 2934, 2954, 2956, 4773, are in Class A while all the remaining stations are in Class B. The results of conductivity assessed from rivers and canals off Rajasthan state before and during the Covid-19 lockdown were compared above, Figure 5. The conductivity values ranged between 300 to 2100 mO/cm before the lockdown and between 230 to 1250 mO/cm during the lockdown. There has generally been a decrease in the conductivity values across all the stations except at 1232, 2953, 4174 and 4804. The decrease in the conductivity values can be attributed to the decrease in the rate of discharge of industrial effluents into the waterways due to the halt in or extremely reduced industrial activities as a result of Covid-19 lockdown. The exceptionally high percentage increase recorded at station 4804, 90%, may be due to the non-stop of industrial activities in the area or other local factors. 5.2 Result of the stored surface water, dams and lakes. From the result presented above it can be seen that some stations Biodhava increased while some have decreased during the lockdown. The following stations showed decrease in biological oxygen demand: 1285, 1414, 1714, 1716, 1717, 2935, 2945, 2946, 4173, 4177, 4179, 4790, 4805. While the remaining stations showed an increase in the biological oxygen demand. Also considering their commendation made by the Bureau of Indian Standard of Water Quality stations 1714, 1717, 2940, 2945, 2946, 2951, 4177, 4790 and 4805 are within Class A while 1285, 1716, 2935, 2941, 2942, 2949, 4172, 4173, 4179 are within the Class B. However, the remaining stations need a series of disinfection and treatment before they can be regarded suitable for human consumption. As they fell within the D class and only 2,952 and 4,781 belong to Group E as their content reaches 12.96 and 9.29 mg/L respectively. With regard to the chemical oxygen demand of dams and lakes in Rajasthan state which was presented above, it can be seen that stations 1285, 1414, 1714, 1716, 1717, 2935, 2937, 2941, 2942, 2943, 2945, 2946, 2951, 4172, 4173, 4177, 4178, 4179, 4781, 4790 and 4805 experienced decrease in chemical oxygen demand while the remaining station shows increases. Although no recommendation made by the IS about the chemical oxygen demand, its value can be related to BOD. The dissolved oxygen of 1716, 2937, 2943, 2949, 2951, 2952, 4172, 4781 and 4805 stations decreased during the lockdown period, while all remaining stations show an increase in the dissolved oxygen. The content of the dissolved oxygen of 1285, 1286, 1481, 1714, 1717, 2940, 2941, 2942, 4177, 4178, 4179 are within the Class A, while the content of 1414, 2935, 2937, 2945, 4790, and 4805 belong to Class B. The content of 1716, 2946, 2949, 2951, 4173, 4795 are within Class C, and the remaining station sample belong to Class. The total coliforms of stations 1414, 1714, 2937, 2927, 2945, 2946, 2951 belong to Class A during lockdown, which shows an improvement based on his recommendation, while the remaining belong to Class B of the Indian Standard of Water Quality, though there is a significant increase of the total coliforms in the following stations: 1285, 1286, 1481, 1716, 1717, 2935, 2937, 2940, 2949, 2952, 4172, 4177, 4179, 4975, and 4805. Stations 1714, 2942, 2943, 2946, 2952, and 4178 have the same value of total coliforms before and during the lockdown, while the remaining stations showed decrease in the total coliform values. The recommendations made by Indian Standard of Water Quality about conductivity were just based on Class E for irrigation and other purposes, while the other classes have no any recommendation. All the conductivity values recorded before and during the lockdown are within the range prescribed by the Indian Standard. However, there are certain variations noticed among the stations surveyed, in which stations 1714, 2937, 4172, 4173, and 4805 have an increased value of conductivity, while the remaining stations have decreased values. 6.0 Conclusions. Investigating the quality level of water sources based on certain parameters prescribed by periodically is of utmost importance. Therefore, based on the above analysis made, the following conclusions were drawn. 1. The quality level of Mustapha, the surface water bodies, both the flowing and stored sources, were remarkably improved during the lockdown and are within the permissible levels based on the recommendation of Indian Standard of Water Quality. This might be due to the absence or limited industrial and transportation activities, which leads to the decrease of industrial effluents release into the waterways, smoke and gases release from chimneys and combusting engines, hence decrease or increase of the content of these parameters analyzed. Moreover, the lockdown has stopped some anthropogenic activities such as bathing at the river sides, tourist activities at dams and local fishing using chemicals, which considerably lead to increase or decrease of the parameters. 2. Based on the CPCB recommendations, Some of the surface water can be used for drinking and other human purposes without any further treatments, while other categories need an additional treatment before used for public purposes. The remaining sources with less quality.E. having high content of contaminants can serve the purposes of irrigation and industries. 7.0 Recommendations. The need for a continuous monitoring of the level of surface water quality is of paramount importance, as it has a direct relationship with human health, rate of crops production and other public activities. Therefore, in order to maintain the optimized level of water quality, the following recommendations can be employed by the government agency concerned with the water quality regulation in the state. 1. The release of the toxic effluents and other related pollutants direct to the water bodies, especially surface water, should be carefully monitored by the CPCB team. This can be achieved by reducing the level of pollutant concentration before they are released to the waterways from the industrial area. 2. Public enlightenment should be made on the dangers associated with inappropriate dumping of refuse and release of waste from household activities to the river or other sources of water, as they lead to the polluting of the surface water and the environment in general. 3. Legislature should be made to ensure strict adherence to the environment rules and regulations. 4. To have consistent, reliable and high-quality level of water, the seasonal changes, i.e. post and pre-monsoon seasons, assessment of water quality in the state should be conducted in the state, and the CPCB should provide periodic update about it.